So, as many of you know, we have been developing a virtual museum experience called Lusitania, the Greyhound's Wake. Um, and it's a museum experience. It's not just a walking tour of the ship. This is something I hadn't really said in previous updates, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about it tonight with our plans. But anyway, Levi and much of our team spent, well, the last month or two putting together a little update that I can show in this stream, and I got it 30 seconds before we started the stream. So, came in just under the wire. Bravo, Levi and Alex and Andrew and Colin and Barrett and everyone else who's been working on that. And of course, Dan and Stu. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that. And we're going to start by talking about our book about the Lusitania, the second volume that's coming out, and segue into the experience. So I've got a little video to play for you. Levi, Alex, Kent, feel free to chime in whenever you'd like about this. But this is a video. It's a still slideshow. We can pause and scrub around as we want. Go ahead, guys. Kent?
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably knew a number of years ago I had written a book called Lusitania, an illustrated biography, but it was badly out of date. It was way behind our research and times, and it was in sore need of updating. And I had been invited by your team members, Tom. I remember one evening, I think it was in 2019, might have been 2020. One evening, Levi approached me and he said, "We're doing a little something about the Lusitania. Are you interested in joining the team?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Um, and it kind of really steamrolled from there. But one of the amazing things is that over the years of working on this project, it hasn't just been about building the ship. It's been about getting the story of what happened, particularly during the sinking, and telling it properly. It's very important to us to get that information out there and get it in the record correctly. And one of his steps in creating his animation for the sinking sequence was Levi did what I believe was the most comprehensive analysis of eyewitness statements and eyewitness accounts that has ever been compiled in one place before. Um, I was astounded when I first went into the document and I looked at, over 1,000 pages of research, all transcribed meticulously from the original statements and tabulated, correlated. If I wanted to look something up by a topic, I could go in and I could look it up by topic. And knowing a lot of these stories and having just kind of read them independently, it was more like the pieces of the puzzle were kind of flung all over the place, and it was difficult to connect the dots. But as Tad and myself and Mike Poirier were in and we were looking at this document, especially as we were preparing the manuscript for volume two, which Ken was kind enough to write the forward for, and also did a box about the 1350 kit that he helped advise on some years ago. Um, we were looking at these accounts with fresh eyes, kind of a fresh perspective, and we're seeing the jigsaw puzzle pieces, how they kind of were falling into place a lot better than we'd ever seen before. And we were noticing things that we had never picked up on before. And we've kept a lot of these things very secret for the book's release because we want to make sure that people get the full story. We don't want people to see it in a game first because a game is not as educational, as useful as a game is. As far as approaching things from a scholarly perspective, that's not usually very well regarded in the scholarly circles. So we said, let's do this as an update to the book. The book is out of date anyways. Let's take some stills from the animation and from the model that we've been working on, and let's take all this research that we're doing and let's give it the kind of treatment that we really tried to give Titanic with On a Sea of Glass. And let's try to put those jigsaw puzzle pieces together. And it really began to come together beautifully. We were on some very lengthy Zoom calls where we were looking at the animation in real time, and we were seeing how different elements playing out in different areas of the deck. That's where the visual element of things that Ken is so good at comes into play, is being able to connect the dots on how one event in one side with a list would be uh, playing out in relation to another event on another spot on the ship. And we were able to use documentation and pieces of evidence that I don't think have been looked at in many years. One of the things that we found was so groundbreaking that it completely revised our understanding of how long it took Lusitania to sink. It's been commonly accepted for many years that it took 18 minutes to sink. And we found hard evidence that says otherwise. So when you go back and you realize we've had all these books and all these animations and videos and documentaries and YouTube videos that all say 18 minutes, 18 minutes, and we said that ourselves for years and years and years. Now all of a sudden we're looking at it, we're going, it wasn't 18 minutes. It couldn't have been 18 minutes. And then we start trying to find, well, where did 18 minutes come from? And we found where the 18 minutes came from and how it got repeated and picked up, and it became kind of like the story that Titanic never broke in two pieces. You had a very couple pieces, a small minority who said 18 minutes, and it just kept, kept snowballing and kept getting repeated over the years.
I
Um,
remember, I remember when that discovery was made, and poor Levi was partway through animating the sinking, and it was like, oh my gosh, I have to throw all of this out, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But
And
no,
it's it.
go ahead, Ted.
I would say when we say it's hard evidence, it's not speculation or something that we steered the evidence towards. It's documentation that really does prove some things pretty conclusively. And I think one of the things we're really proud of with this project is the sheer number of eyewitness statements that have never really been popularly published or put out there. And that includes multiple members of the U-20 German crew. Beside everybody, Schwieger, everybody's heard his account or read his log, but we found a lot of statements from crew members there, which not necessarily whether it rewrites history, but it's just interesting to see the other perspective on how that all played out rather than repeating the same accounts over and over again. So we're pretty
Exactly.
excited for people to
yeah,
get to see that.
So
yeah.
there's a lot of new discoveries in these two volume books, which is the framework for the experience. So a lot of people have been asking, why is the experience taking so long? A big reason is the book, because the book is the scholarly precursor to the game. The game is moving. It's really moving along. We've got a great batch of new team members who have come in over the last 2 years who can do things I did not think were possible. And as Kent said, there's a lot of new information in this, not theories, but stuff with evidence that has not really come to light in the past. And I'm really glad that a lot of it has made it to the book. I hate to say it, but some of our stuff leaked early on by people who shouldn't have had access to things that they had access to, and they disseminated into other projects. I'm very pleased that some of the really big, groundbreaking stuff has basically not been revealed until now.
Yeah. We wanted to make sure that this information, when it came to light, was in a very, very scholarly fashion. Like you say, Tom, it couldn't have come out in a game or in a YouTube video first, or everyone would have laughed at it because everyone knows. If you go to, ninth school history, you get a book and it has maybe a paragraph on, the United States entering World War I, and it says on May 7th, 1915, the Lusitania was torpedoed by a German submarine and it sank in 18 minutes. And we've just rewritten the history books, and we've been able to pin it down. And I'll give a little hint here on how we were able to pin it down, because the book is coming out this very week, and we're going to be shipping our copies out in the very near future. Some of this information we were able to correlate Marconi transmission times, which were logged very carefully at shore stations. And we finally got our proof that Lusitania's shipboard clocks were adjusted to GMT, which is a red herring that was thrown out there probably 50 years ago in a very badly researched Lusitania book. And it's been picked up and repeated that the ship was on Queenstown time which was 25 minutes different from GMT. But now we know for sure, and it's there. We have multiple sources. Lusitania's clocks were on GMT. And knowing that her clocks were adjusted to GMT and the attack time from the U-20 and how Schwieger recorded everything right down to the minute, we know when the attack took place, when the torpedo struck, when the first Marconi transmission was sent. We even know who sent it. And we know when the very last transmission was sent. And we know what happened after the Marconi operator left his key after sending that. And we realized there was no way that in a minute and a half, everything could happen. So yes, some people have been asking, how long did it take? How long did it take? I want to tell you to go read the book because the documentation is all in there and you won't have to take our word for it. But it is longer than 18 minutes for sure. And that's why we've been saying for months that everything out there is wrong. It might seem like a really small adjustment to our understanding, but in an 18 to 20 minute disaster, that's a significant percentage of how long the entire thing would take to play out.
It's the same thing as with Titanic, and people keep repeating 705 survivors, which we've known for 25 years that it's 712, but people keep bringing up 705 because Walter Lord said it.
Yep.
70 years ago.
Yep.
So
it's the favorite number.
Kent,
yeah.
The book is currently available for pre-order, and then will just be available for sale in a few days. Kent, where can people pre-order if they want to pick up a signed copy?
If you want to pick up a signed and numbered copy, which is autographed by all of the authors who were involved in the book, you can go to my website, which is atlanticliners.com, and you go to store, and you can pre-order Volume 2. I do want to apologize in advance to our overseas readers because unfortunately the book is large and it can't be folded and it has just enough weight so that our shipping costs, when you order the book, you might, oh my goodness, the shipping, but actually the shipping costs that we charge are less than what we have to pay for shipping. So we're actually losing money on the shipping. So if you want to pick up a signed and numbered copy, it comes with our autographs, it comes with a bookmark and a certificate of authenticity. You can do that through my website, atlanticliners.com, and then you can go to the store there and place the order there. And we've been trying to match, if you've got Volume 1 in a signed and numbered format, we've been trying to match the copy numbers so that you can have a matching set. We aren't guaranteeing that at this point because we've got quite a bit of numbers that are taken already, but we're going to keep trying to do that moving forward. So yeah, it's an exciting thing. And that's just one subject on the time. There are so many other things that we found, who was where, when, what they saw, where did the torpedo strike? I had laid a little bit of the groundwork on that back in Conspiracies at Sea back in 2016, but now it's like, wow, it's so clear where the torpedo struck, and it's not where a lot of people would like to have seen it struck, especially those who like to involve the idea of exploding munitions and so forth in the cargo holds. It was much further aft than that. So yeah, we've got a lot going for that, for sure.
Thank you, Kent. Maybe Tad or one of the moderators can drop the link in the chat. There we go. Oh. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, there's so much that could be said about the books, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I do want to get into the actual game itself. We're getting yelled at by this one guy who says we're mentioning the game but not saying anything about it. So yeah, I want to share some more about that. What you're seeing here is a mixture of images from the game and ones that were produced for the book. Levi and Alex are more than welcome to chime in at any time if they have something they would like to say. But yeah, as you see here, this is New York City. And we do not just have Lusitania in this experience. It's a museum experience where you learn the story of the Lusitania. We have New York City. You can explore Pier 54. You can explore a couple of blocks into the city as it existed in 1915. Not just New York City. It's also Queenstown, Ireland in the aftermath of the disaster, which you can get out and explore and walk around and see Queenstown reacting to the disaster, because both the survivors and the victims came in there. Why is it escaping me as soon as I'm talking about it live? John Brown Shipyard is another big level that you can explore. And this is not just, I'm not just saying this. I didn't say this at all until now. I'm saying it now because it's done. It's in engine. It's programmed. Here you go. You're seeing it. We're not showing everything because, of course, we want to keep some surprises. But we have all of this. We have the sinking. And we have a lot of the ship that you can explore. And, of course, a whole museum experience built around this that educates you on the entire life, the lifespan, the career of the Lusitania. From construction, through its career, through wartime, to the sinking, through the aftermath. So we've been taking our time with it because we want to do it right. Let me pause on this one right now. This is a video. This is all recorded in engine of our environments in Unreal. But this is John Brown Shipyard that I've just paused on right now. Shame I didn't pause it on a lightning strike. You'd actually see the Lusitania back there being built. And all of these levels are accurate to how they were at the time relevant. So this is John Brown 1907. You see New York City and Queenstown, Ireland, now Cove, 1915, and a few other places as well in the years that they're relevant. But we have some interiors that you can explore, that you can learn about, that you can find out what were these different buildings in the shipyard. And it does have objectives and game. It has a little bit of game to it. So it's going to be very exciting to share with everybody. I will unpause and keep playing now.
Like Tom said.
Hey,
sorry.
Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey. Yeah, no, so like Tom said, yeah, we really do want to show just the kind of the whole story from the beginning to the end. And to be able to visit these points of interest is very important to us, and to show them off, to show them accurately as they were during the time of Lusitania's, from its construction to its final voyage, is something that's very important to us, and to ensure that we can really make people feel like for the first time in 100+ years, they're standing on the Lusitania's decks. And to us, that's very important.
Exactly. So, like I said, we've played our cards close to the vest up until then. We've been afraid of certain IP getting stolen, but the damage has already been done. So now we're planting our flag. This is what our project has been for the last few years. This is what we've been doing. We have a whole lot more than we've ever let on, and we're in the final stages. It is very exciting. Still no release date, sorry, because we don't know. This is all being done in our free time. This is a cabinet that's in the reading and writing room in first class on the Lusitania. And a year ago, 2 years ago, when we showed progress on this space, this was one of the areas that we always like to show off. I encourage you to go back to those old streams or the old posts. The website's woefully out of date. I apologize for that. It's hard to keep up with a website when but I seriously compare this to what we had and what we were showing off a year or 2 years ago. We have had some incredible new artists join the team that just put the old work to shame, honestly. And this is...
And Tom,
Yeah.
can I give a shout out to some of the people who've helped?
Absolutely. They deserve it.
So
Yeah.
so I mean, everyone in this chat right now, obviously Kent, Tad, Ken, and you, Tom, Alex.
Oh,
I
I'm
can't.
sorry, Levi. Just real quick, there's a comparison. I didn't think we'd have one in this video. There's a comparison of old versus new. Go ahead, Levi. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so everyone's been in. I gotta give for the bookcase that you're seeing here and some of the other pieces coming up. A guy named Andrew who's been helping us with that, and also some Empress of Ireland stuff. And like it's absolutely amazing what he's been able to whip up and do, and to just not only help improve the accuracy of it, but it's also an optimizing to make sure that this can run optimally for everyone. I also want to give a really big shout out to Stu. because of some of his models that he's been able to give us and just all the technical help. Dan, who's been helping make some of the models, I got to give a really big shout out to you for that as well. Some of you might know him as the one of the two gentlemen who did the CGI for the 2000 Britannic TV movie. He's been helping us out with a bunch of stuff. I also got to thank Eric, who's not only helped us do all sorts of different parts like the mast, with him all the mast, helping fix up the funnels, and like all sorts of different parts. And then also we have Eli, and of course I've got to give a big shout out to Colin, who's on the team, because he's not only helped so many different things. He's helped made possible some stuff like in the book and other aspects. Just absolutely knocks it out. Helping us create Hoboken, in New Jersey, like when you saw earlier on some of the New York scenes. That's his Vaterland that he's graciously loaned to put in there for the background. Because I mean, if anyone has seen Ken's painting or in the 1915 film reel, you'll see in the back all those German liners lined up. And there was a really nice gentleman named Joshua, and he helped us figure out what were all of the German ships at all of the different piers, because a lot of the German ships from the time might look a little similar, but like which ones were actually there. That was a whole process of figuring out which ones need to be built, which ones need to be put there, which order are they in, because no one has, really outside of Ken's painting, I can't think of anyone who's really bothered to put which one is where. And so all sorts of different, all these people, I cannot say that it would not have been possible without all your help in making forward. And obviously the results that show, I mean, in terms of, like when you look at volume 2, even though most of the parts have been redone since then through Stu and others, further optimizations and parts have been able to give to us. And it's a really, really big difference between the two. And I think when this is all said and done, everything that Alex and Tom had mentioned, that and it's nice to also even show some of this, like Pier 54 here. The Chelsea piers have been in some form or another sitting in engine waiting, been shown since I want to say 2021 or so. And so finally be able to show off these more so, and all the work that had been done, and New York that Tom had made, and then Queenstown, like all of that. I think it's going to be something that's really unique and special with that. And it's good to finally be able to show part of that. And I think the key obviously is optimization, making sure that people with an average or better computer hopefully will be able to run it and still look good. And so I think we've made some really big strides in that. And even the interior of the ship, like some of the stuff that Alex and the others, like Andrew, have been making to finally flesh out some of the missing parts. Because like Tom has been saying, part of the delays, we've been going with the book, and then there's been other projects with Titanic and other stuff that we've been doing. So it's been kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And so, but through all that, all the finalized assets which you can put in, and now it's putting it together, finishing rest parts of the ship. And I think when more of the ship is shown in terms of some of the changes that have been done and some of the new finds that have been done, I think it will be one of the most beautiful digital ships out there, minus some of the Titanic stuff that's been done, that we've also released in part of that. But no, I think it's been really good. And John Brown and all these places, I think it'll be fun, as if I was much younger and I was dreaming of something, it'd be something like this. So between that and the book, I think everyone's going to be very happy, and Lusitania will be forever have a way for it to be remembered and going in the future. So
I think so. And
Yeah.
as you had said, Levi, we've been doing some Empress of Ireland stuff. That was also a second project that we will be doing as a follow-up to Lusitania. We started that about 2 years ago. We've been collecting a lot of information. Some of that got leaked too. But, we're working on that in the background while working on Lusitania and bringing that to completion, as well as several Titanic projects at the moment that we're doing mostly for clients. But anyway, let me pause. I think Kent wanted to say something, and then we do have to really shift gears to Titanic.
Yeah. I was going
wanna
to
just
actually tie us.
Can I just say something real quick, because
Yeah.
it's time
Yeah.
sensitive. Stampede 122 sent a super chat, but I wanted to acknowledge it because it's actually really interesting. At this moment, 2 minutes ago, 160 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater.
My goodness.
Yeah, so there's a lot that happened. April 14th, April 15th, jokingly is remembered online as one of the worst days in history. We have Lincoln, we have Titanic, we have the Boston bombing, we have our taxes due. So it's, there's a lot of stuff, and it's just nice to mention something else as well that happened tonight. So thank you for bringing up Lincoln. What were you going to say,
Definitely.
Kent?
I was just going to say, a lot of people who tune in for Titanic might be sitting in there, why are we talking so much about Lusitania? And I think one of the important things is that when we tend to hyper focus on Titanic, but actually it's easier to understand Titanic when you look at the context of its time. So I would encourage any Titanic enthusiast or, armchair historian to take a look at the Lusitania information, or a lot of the information that Mark Chirnside has been putting out in recent years about the Majestic and so many of the other ships that were concurrent with that period. Because what that does is it gives you a broader base with which to understand Titanic's time, and also the way events played out with Titanic, and even things as simple as the structure of Olympic and Titanic and how that compared to many of their peers of that time. And so this is really, for the Titanic enthusiast, this Lusitania book or experience when it comes out is really going to help kind of paint that era in a broader stroke. And help understand Titanic's time a little bit more, which is just what I was going to mention as we moved back into Titanic time.
You can't tell the full story of the Lusitania without touching on the Titanic. Just as you
Absolutely.
can't tell the full story of the Titanic without touching on the Lusitania. These were ships that coexisted at the same time in the same market slice. These were serving the same clients. Yeah.
Yeah, the
exactly.
shipyards were related. They had general partnership between them. So yeah, there was definitely that big connection between Titanic and Lusitania.